Hey guys, welcome to the Reborn podcast. So excited that you've tuned in on whatever channel it is that you're watching or listening to this. Super excited today about our guest. I have Beau Barron with me today. He's got a really, really powerful story that I'm excited to share with you. So we're just going to get right into it, Beau.
Let's do it. Happy
Welcome.
to be here.
Yeah, man. He drove all the way from Atlanta to be in Birmingham with me today. I'm super just honored that you would do that.
Yeah, man.
And because in person is always so much better than, over Zoom. So one thing I just want to give a little background. So I first met you when you were in high school, and I led a Bible study for high school guys from Mountain Brook guys from your high school, and you were part of that group. And then what I didn't know is actually now I am married to one of your close friends from high school's older sister.
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law is an old friend of Beau's, and they grew up together. So yeah, but since then we really kind of lost touch. I hadn't really touched base at all until recently. This is actually kind of funny. So I posted on Facebook and Instagram this post about, I kind of have this, I didn't make this up, but it's like a life anthem for me of just do hard things. So I made this post about doing hard things, and it's sometimes it lands on deep stuff like what we're about to talk about today. Sometimes it's like, hey, just get outside, go for a run, hit the gym. But I'm always just trying to encourage people, hey, put hard things in your life because it's only going to make you better. And then also on the grand scale, the hardest things I've ever walked through have always been the most powerfully transformative things in my life. So I make this post just trying to encourage somebody, and you respond to it. And you're like, man, your post really resonated with me. I have been walking through cancer for the last year. And bro, I just felt like, whoa, okay, I was talking about doing hard things, but you just leveled up. And it made, honestly, my foot post just felt kind of pathetic in light of what you actually been walking out. But it started this conversation. And then we Zoomed after that just to kind of talk through your story. And man, it's super powerful. So thank you for responding to my post and for being here. And let's just get into your story. So talk about growing up. Just give us like a 5-minute view of what life was like as a child. You grew up here in Mountain Brook, where we are right now, Alabama. So talk about your childhood a little bit.
Yeah. So as you said, grew up here in Mountain Brook, was good friends with Walton, your brother-in-law, spent a ton of time at their house with Bible study and whatnot. And so I had a lot of great memories over there with them. But I think my early years were, we were very well taken care of and whatnot, but it was surrounded, a lot with addiction and everything that kind of comes with that. And so my parents split early. I think I was in like 5th grade or so. And so kind of, really struggled with that early on. But outside of that, was super active, always into sports, always doing something good or bad, but but was always active and that type of thing. So yeah, that's probably like a high level.
Yeah. So and then I knew your little sister, Liz.
Yeah.
So I was a youth pastor back then. It was like 7 iterations of my career ago.
Yeah.
But you were older, so I think I only had you for less than a year, but I had her all the way through high school. And so I remember, is it just the two of you?
Yeah, just
the two of you. Okay. Yeah. So talk about, you gave me a little bit of background earlier last week, but tell me about, you got to college. I didn't know this about you, but you actually put yourself through school at working as a paramedic, right?
Well, so partially. I worked as a full-time firefighter and EMT.
Okay.
In college. So did that for a couple of years in college. And yeah, they paid for, all of my tuition and everything. And, but definitely worked full time. We were doing 24 on, 48 off. Anytime we had classes, we had, career guys that would come in and backfill our spots while we were at class. So definitely like a super unique and interesting experience to have in college. I mean, I mean, grew up super quick. We saw a lot of really kind of intense situations that, 19, 20 years old, 21.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah.
Did you enjoy the intensity of that work?
I did, man. I loved it. Those are some of the best, memories of my life and really the camaraderie that comes with it. I mean,
Sure.
I went through rookie school. I think we had, I don't remember. I think we had like 25 of those graduate. I'm not sure how many we started with, but we, it was all summer long in the middle in Opelika. We, in full turnout gear from sun up to sundown, and then you're also having to do all the, the testing and book testing and everything on top of that. And so, it was a grind, man. And, we got to go through, I think I was either 19 or 20, when I went through, but, we're going through alongside guys that are in their 30s doing this full time from Opelika, Alexander City, all kind of over the southeast. So
yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Well, I was just, when I read that, I was just really impressed, and two, I was thinking about, because I know your peer group and I know the community you grew up in, which is a very affluent community. There probably weren't a lot of your buddies that were putting themselves through school. Yeah. So I really respect the fact that you took that path, and just the work ethic that probably required to be able to juggle both successfulay. So
yeah, I think it was one of those things that, the full story of it was, my sister she was the last of the grandkids to kind of go through college, and there just wasn't enough money left. And so I was like, well, I can go do this and pay for at least a couple of years here, and then put the money left over towards her tuition. And so that was kind of the reasoning behind it. But looking back on it, was the best decision I ever made on a personal level too.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow, that's amazing. So what'd you study?
At Auburn, I studied kinesiology with a minor in business.
Okay.
So like your traditional kind of health science degree. And then so I thought I was going to be a physical therapist, thought I wanted to go that route.
That was going to be my next question. Were you aiming kind of down a medical path, an actual practitioner?
Yeah. That was kind of what I was thinking. And then I went and shadowed a few, and it just, wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Unless I was going to go and work with like a sports team or something like that. So then a couple guys in my fraternity had gotten jobs in the medical device space, and they really loved it. And so joined up with a company out of Birmingham called Integrated Medical Systems. Was kind of my first internship / job out of college. I did that for a year, and then took over an account in Denver, Rose Medical Center, which is a big orthopedic facility out there. And so we were helping manage the central sterile department at that hospital. And so through that, my job was as the OR liaison. So I was talking, connecting the dots between the central sterile department and the operating room, and the surgeons, which is the worst job you could ever imagine, because it was basically like, oh, go tell Dr. Davis that his trays aren't going to be ready for like 4 hours.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
which I'm sure Dr. Davis always handled really, really well.
Yeah, 100%. And so
because surgeons just have a reputation of being very amicable and easy to work with.
Your father-in-law.
He's the exception. He's a phenomenal guy. Great bedside manner. But yes.
So that was kind of trial by fire, and got to know a lot of the surgeons there, a lot of the, ortho reps that were working with them, and was fortunate enough to get picked up by Stryker Orthopedics. And,
it's a great company.
Yeah, I worked for them for about 4 years out there before I moved back to the Southeast. So.
Okay. Now, where in this did you meet your wife?
Yeah, so I met Katie when I moved back to Atlanta in 2014. So we knew each other probably probably about 2 years before we started dating. I met her at our CrossFit gym that we both went to, and that's still kind of like our core group of friends in Atlanta.
Do you still do CrossFit? I mean, I know you've been walking through some health stuff, but
no. Well, I do a dialed back version. I do.
Yeah.
I'm not throwing around. You know,
you're not deadlifting 500 pounds.
No, not anymore.
Any CrossFit injuries?
I think everybody's got CrossFit injuries. Nothing like anything super serious, but yeah, definitely tweaks and stuff for sure.
I've had two microdiscectomies, L5S1, thanks to CrossFit.
That's not fun.
I know. Just kept trying to prove that. I mean, when CrossFit first came out, I was like, man, I'm going to games. Like, I'm going to be.
I think all of us thought that.
Exactly. Yeah. For those of you that don't know CrossFit, there's like an Olympics for CrossFitters. Yeah. It's called the CrossFit Games. And it is such a cult. I bought in hook, line, and sinker, and I was going through a divorce, so I had nothing else to focus on but just get in the best shape of my life and go to the CrossFit Games. And so, in my early 30s, I was deadlifting, close to 500 pounds for multiple reps, just stupid stuff that you shouldn't be doing with your body. And I wake up with a stiff back every day now as a result. So
I did that I went hard at it for probably 4 years out in Denver. And then I had major knee surgery on my left knee, which kind of made me dial it back a little bit. And so through that, my roommate at the time out there, he was training for a half Ironman. And so I couldn't do anything else. I would hobble across the pool deck on my crutches and just fall into the water and start swimming with him. And so that led me to kind of, into the triathlon space. So I've done a few of those, and
good for you. That's something I've never done. It's the swimming part.
Hey, everybody says that until you do it. And then when you do it, it's like, swimming's the best.
I used to, I've been hardcore cycling for a long time, mountain biking, road biking. I could grind on a bike, but the water, I'm not comfortable.
We'll get you there. Yeah. We're going to do an Ironman soon.
Hey, let's do it, bro. I'm in. I need a new challenge. All right, back to Katie. So you met CrossFit, and so I guess working out at the same gym, just part of the same gym community.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of like a cult. You build a community. It's fantastic. You build, relationships around it.
Yeah. So
when did that turn into like a spark from like, hey, we work out together, like, hey, I think I'm into you.
Yeah. I think, so CrossFit 404 is the name of the gym. It's not CrossFit Buckhead. But our, close friends started it and owned it. So that was sort of like where I met everybody when I first moved to Atlanta, and Katie just happened to be part of that group. And I think, I always kind of had a thing for her, like when I first met her, but it's just timing wasn't right or whatever. And then eventually our friend group got so tight. Like I remember talking to her friend who's also named Katie, and she was like, dude, what are you doing? She was like, this is like, she's into you, you're into her. Stop acting like this. Just, go ask her out or make a move. And so our first date was Fox Brothers barbecue after, she's a nurse. So she showed up after her shift in her scrubs, and we just hung out and had a beer and ate barbecue together, and the rest is history.
Man, that's all. Yeah. What year was that? When was your first date?
I think that was, it was either 15 or 16.
Okay.
I can't remember.
I'm like a timeline guy. I have to have everything linear in my head. So then how long did you date before you got married?
We only dated for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So our first date probably would have been like somewhere around 16.
I love how you said only. My first wife, I dated for 4 months and proposed. So I'm like, dude, you got some stamina. Good for you. That's amazing. I took my time with Lacey. I learned from that, but that's funny. What year did you get married?
2018.
2018.
And our daughter was born in 2019. So
that's fantastic.
Came along quickly after that.
Yeah. So married, baby. What are you doing work-wise at that point?
At that point, I was still in medical device. We actually, Dana was born at Piedmont Hospital, which this is not something I'm proud of thinking back on, but I'm like such a workaholic. Like Dana's born, we're up on the 6th floor, and we have cases going on the next morning. I'll walk down into the operating room, covered a case, went back upstairs, and the surgeon, who I'm still good friends with, actually, who is part of this bigger story, Kevin Wynn, he looked at me and was like, dude, get out of this operating room. What are you doing in here? He was like, go upstairs right now. So yeah.
That's fun. Okay, this is not a one-up story, but it's to make you feel better. So when Shiloh, my second daughter, was being born, literally the surgeon's in there. She is crowning. Baby is coming. At the time I was trading options, like just trying to make big money on the side. And I didn't have my computer, my Wi-Fi, but stuff was going crazy in the market. I'm in the corner of the room on the phone with my brokerage firm called thinkorswim.com. So I'm on the phone with this guy. And he's like, bro, you got to sell. And I'm like, the baby's about to start crying, like about to come out. And my wife had no idea what I was doing on the phone because she's focused. But anyway, I look back and that was probably...
Everybody, I promise, we're not terrible people.
So anyway, that's awesome. So 2019, tell me her name again.
Katie.
No, your baby.
Oh, Dana.
Dana came.
Yep.
And, but you have a second.
Yeah.
And tell me the story of the second baby.
Yeah. So our son, West, with a T, was
Great
born
name.
2021. Yep. So that's my mom's dad's middle name.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know this, but my name is Alva Votel Barron IV. So he's Alva
Holy
Votel.
moly, that is...
Yeah, Barron V.
Yeah.
But he goes by West, like I go by Beau.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So now you've got this family. Kind of paint the picture of it's you, Katie, your two young kids, and where are you at within life and career right before you start noticing there's something wrong?
Yeah, I think I think everything leading up to this, in hindsight, right? Like looking back, I think life was pretty easy, and I think I probably would have told you, like, I had all these issues growing up as a kid and yada yada and whatever. But looking back on it, it's like, dude, like smooth sailing. You know? And there's not a lot that, for whatever reason, didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. Like I will force things to happen.
Yeah.
And so, I think, I had joined ViewFi, which is the company I'm currently at, which is a digital health company, and I was employee number 2. So joined there, I think almost exactly 4 years ago, like next week or something. But joined there, and everything's going great, and then as far as like personal life, like everything was going good with Katie and I was just smooth sailing, and then I started, kind of having pain. It started as a little spot on the outside of my gum. And I thought I'd just eaten, like I was eating granola that day, and I was like, man, I got like a piece of granola stuck in my gum. This is annoying. It'll go away.
Like an ulcer, just like a sore.
Sort of. Well, it was a little bit. It wasn't like an ulcer. It was like a little, the size of a pea, and it was just like this little bump, and I could feel it with my tongue. And
on the outside, so between your cheek and your gum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right at like the base of my molar.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, that's weird, but whatever, it'll go away. And it didn't go away. So I went to my dentist. The dentist was like, zero help. And so he's like, you need to go see a periodontist who specializes in gum tissue. So, okay. So went to go see this person. Got there, they did a root scaling, didn't find anything. And then when I, like, probably about 2 or 3 days after they finished that, it jumped to the inside. And so when it jumped to the inside, it started turning dark. And I was like, that's really not good.
Right.
And so went back, they did it again. And they were like, we can't find anything. We think you need to go to an endodontist who does like root canals and all that stuff. So go see an endodontist in Buckhead, and what they do is they test your tooth for viability to see if like the nerve is alive or dead to determine whether you need a root canal. So I could feel the cold on my tooth, which meant I did not need a root canal. It was alive. So she was like, we're not doing that. So she did a CT scan, but without contrast. And what she noticed was that there was a thickening in the right side of my mandible compared to the left. But it wasn't like a spherical, like, tumor shape.
Right.
It was just like this slight thickening that they could, they have templates that they can use to measure the thickness and stuff. And so she's like, you're just like a centimeter out here, a little bit thicker on that side. And so she told me, she was the first person that was like, if this was me, I'd probably get that biopsied. And so that I immediately was kind of red flag. I became pretty concerned. Not knowing what it was ultimately going to be, but my biggest concern was like, is this cancer? And she was like, I don't think it's cancer, but I would just get a biopsy to be safe. So she refers me to an oral surgeon, who, like, I'll preface all this by saying, like, this guy is great. He's become a close friend of mine, really amazing dude. I think what I've learned through this entire experience is that, doctors kind of operate in boxes and those boxes will catch, 95% of everything. And then, but unfortunately, if you're in that 5%,
if you're an outlier,
the cracks, unless you advocate for yourself and push. And so I went to the oral surgeon that they referred me to. First thing he says is, I am 100% positive this is not cancer. You don't have anything to worry about there. Because I was freaking out.
Sure.
And I was like, oh man, okay. That's a huge relief. And so then that leads to a tori removal, which worst thing in the world.
Explain what that is.
It's awful. So it is basically where they go in and they shave down the inside of your jaw. They did it on both sides. And they were like, this should...
Do they have to remove your gum to do that? Or do they just go behind the gum? How does it even work?
I think, dude, honestly, I don't know. I think they like peel it back, shave it down, and then sew it back together. So that was like super painful, and it did nothing. And so, and thinking back, that was like the worst possible thing that we could have done. That was actually very, very dangerous. For many different reasons, but we'll get to that. So anyways, do that. That doesn't help. Then it leads to, okay, the only other option is let's do a root canal on it. They do a root canal. The endodontist who does it is like kind of on the fence as to whether the tooth was dead or not. But she was like, this should take care of your pain at least. And I was like, okay. So sends me back. The pain keeps getting worse to the point where, like, whenever I'm doing a workout, I can feel my heartbeat all the way through my jaw.
There's something about pain above your neck, in your head. It's maddening.
Yeah, 100%. And so it started in 30, which is one of your molars, and then it moved to 31 and 29. And so I was like tracking this, and I was going back, being like, hey guys, like, whatever it is that is happening is like expanding. And so went back, had another root canal, because they were like, oh, the first one didn't work. That one didn't work either. Then they were like, all right, we're going to extract the tooth. So they take the tooth out, and they're like, the tooth looks fine. You didn't need a root canal. The tooth was totally fine.
Which you've been telling him the entire time.
Yeah. And so that was when they were like, yeah, we're getting into the area of like, this may be something pathological. And so anyways, we leave, go on a family trip down to St. Simon. We stay there for a week, come back, and my gum tissue isn't healing properly. And so call my oral surgeon. He's like, yeah, this isn't a good sign. Come in. We're going to do a biopsy on it. And we'll definitively get an answer one way or another. I was like, okay, so come in. I'll get my wife to come with me to the biopsy procedure just because I was so worked up about it. and go in, and he's like, all right, we're going to biopsy the tissue. We'll send it off for pathology. It'll take about 7 to 10 days to get the results. And we'll get an answer. And I was like, well, if you're going to be in there, I would very much appreciate it if you could also biopsy my jaw bone too. We clearly can see that there's thickening on that side. It's not like jumping out at you, but it is there. And his response was, look, we just don't have any reason to do that right now. He said, we just extracted your tooth. We need as much bone there as possible to put an implant back in. So I don't really want to.
He's thinking about the repairs. He's not.
Yeah. And so I just pressed him on it, and I said, look, man, like I'm super nervous. If nothing else, this is going to give me the ability to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Like, I really want you to do this. And he was like, all right, we'll see when we get in there. So, all right, fine. So I'll never forget, lay back. They do the procedure, and, he holds this little Petri dish over my head, and he says, okay, here's the tissue that we got. And there's that little piece of bone you wanted me to get. And so I was like, okay, good, whatever. So he sends both of them off. The tissue comes back clear. The bone comes back hot for osteosarcoma, which, if you know anything about osteosarcoma, highly aggressive form of bone cancer.
It's not normal. So I Googled this just in preparation for this, but it's not normally in the mandible. No. It's normally in a large bone, like your femur or like a large leg bone, right?
Yeah. So it's most common in pediatric patients in long bones, like your femur, humerus, tibia, something like that. Ironically enough, like, I covered a lot of those cases when I was at Stryker, where we were doing like full femoral replacements and knee replacements on kids because of that. And so I was very much aware of what that meant.
When he said osteosarcoma, like, okay, so I want just take me to that moment. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the phone call, and I want to know what went through your head.
Yeah.
When you got it.
So, so I was at the office. I was in the conference room with our CEO. I think we were getting ready to do a demo with a customer or something like that. I don't even remember, but yeah, my phone rang, and I saw it was Dr. Aiken, and immediately just got super nervous, answered the phone, and he was, as good as you can be when delivering that type of information.
Sure.
But he was like, I'm so sorry, but you've been diagnosed with osteosarcoma. And when I heard that, I was thinking like months. I was like, I'm dead. This is a death sentence. And so, my second uncle, great uncle, he passed away from osteosarcoma in 2016. I actually did a open water swim fundraiser for him when he passed away, raising money for osteosarcoma. And then ironically enough, my dog also died from osteosarcoma. And so, I'm just thinking like, this is worst case scenario. And, but Dr. Aiken, credit to him, and his wife is a radiologist at Emory. And so they told me the news on Friday, and they said, we already have you scheduled with the interdisciplinary team at Emory for Tuesday at 3:00. And so they did all of that ahead of even calling me, which was great. Because my first question was, what's next steps?
Yeah, you're a problem solver. You want to get after this thing.
I went into like, just let's go. And so, and then after that, it was full blown panic attack. Like I'm not like that. Like I'm very much like an action oriented person, where if we have a problem, like, all right, let's solve it. And this was just so much bigger.
Yeah.
And so, like barely made it back to the house, got home. Katie was at the house. Our daughter was homesick that day. And so I didn't want to freak her out. So I like gathered myself enough to make it inside.
Yeah.
And then when I got inside, I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I called my best friend Grant in Atlanta and just said, hey man, like I've been diagnosed with cancer. Come pick me up. I don't have any idea where we're going, but we just gotta get out.
Yeah.
And so he immediately dropped everything he was doing, came pick me up. By the time he got there, like I was like throwing up in the front yard,
Oh,
like could
bro.
barely breathe. And
What's Katie doing?
Katie was inside with Dana trying to, and I told her, I was like, just stay inside. Like Grant's coming, stay inside. I'm going to figure out what we're doing here.
She's a nurse, so I would assume
yeah.
she's pretty, I mean, it's your husband,
Yeah.
but she's pretty cool and
She's
calm,
cool,
under pressure.
collected, like, about as perfectly made as you could possibly be for that situation and the next 12 months to come. Like she was the rock throughout this entire thing. So
your buddy Grant comes and picks you up, and man, what a gift to have a friend like that.
Yeah. And so I think before we get into like what transpired from the time I got the diagnosis forward over the next like 2 weeks or so, it's important to call out what you were saying earlier. Mandibular osteosarcoma in particular is incredibly rare. So it's about like 0.06% of cancer. And so, we went to Emory, we went to Mayo, we went to UAB. All of those world-class centers might see maybe one of me every year. And so you're an N of one.
Yeah.
When you're going in trying to figure out, do research on clinical studies that are comparing two different types of chemo drugs with your specific.
There's no test cases. There's no data.
Yeah. It's just super, super rare. So just want to like kind of paint that big picture before we dive into like how things unfolded, because it's insane and far greater than anything I ever could have orchestrated. So when Grant's on his way to come pick me up, the surgeon I told you about earlier, who I went and covered the case the day Dana was born, I was like, he's the surgical oncologist that I used to work with. I need answers to figure out if this is spread anywhere else in my body. So I call him. I hadn't talked to him in like probably 2 years, but he and I were pretty close, and we used to go deer hunting together. Like I would consider him a good buddy of mine. And so call him, and his answers on the second ring, which this guy's in the operating room all day, every day.
Right.
Like the fact that he had his phone on him is insane. And so answers on the second ring, and he's like, "Hey man, how you doing? Hadn't talked to you in forever. Great to hear from you." And I'm just like a freaking basket case, and explain the situation. And he immediately was like, "Get in the car, go to the Piedmont ER. I'm here. I'm having you admitted. We're going to scan you from head to toe. We're going to figure out what's going on." And so that's the type of guy that you want in your corner. This, like,
no
I'm
kidding.
not messing around. Like he went from being like, "Hey man, how you doing?" to like, "Sounds good. I'm going to meet you at the ER in 10 minutes.
Pull every string I got. We're going to get this covered." Yeah.
We're scanning you head to toe, CT with and without contrast. We're going to figure out exactly where it is. If it's metastasized anywhere, we're going to determine the size, everything. And so
where most people would be waiting a week to get that kind of data.
Yeah.
I mean,
and so from the time I was diagnosed, to, within like 3 hours, I had all that knocked out and done. And I also like want to be super clear. Like, this isn't me like bragging. This is me lining up how this unfolds. And this is so far beyond anything I ever could have done.
Yeah.
And so, so that was the first day. And there's a lot that, I remember sitting in the ER, just waiting and being like, okay, within the next 45 minutes, I'm going to figure out whether I'm going to live or die.
And you're 37 at the time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It was like a week before my 38th birthday. And it was actually on the 23rd. So
a year ago, 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
God.
And so, Yeah. So, but I remember looking at Grant and just telling him, being like, "Hey, this is just like such a realization that all of us are going to die. Like within the next 45 minutes, I'm going to be told something that determines whether I die or not.
Like how much time you have left on this earth.
How much
and it
time
could
I
be
have
brief,
left on this earth. Yep. And it could, 100%. And so,
which none of us at 37 are thinking is brief. We're like, man, we're not even halfway done. I'm just getting going.
Mm-hmm. And so, it's just a super intense experience in that moment. And so that's one thing that will always kind of stick out to me is like the conversation that he and I had. And I think he could see it on my face of like, man, this is real. Like, this is super heavy. And so they come in, they're like, good news, everything's localized to your jaw. And the reason why it didn't jump out was because, again, it wasn't like a spherical tumor. It was elongated. So it was 3.4 by like 1.4 by 1.4. So it was like an oval, like a tube.
Just like running the length of it.
The length of my mandible. And had we not biopsied that bone, it's like we were at the end of the road there. Like after that, it's like, what do you do after that? There's no other option from there on out. So it's like I just am very fortunate that we were able to get that done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so walk us through treatment.
Yeah, well,
so you get scanned head to toe by your surgeon.
So get scanned head to toe, get that answer Friday afternoon, Saturday morning.
And the answer was it was localized. It was nowhere else.
Yeah, nowhere else.
It's right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I still had to do a PET scan, but they were like, given this osteosarcoma, like a CT scan will get us 95% of the way there.
Yeah.
We'll be very confident that's localized. So got that done on Friday. The next Saturday, I wake up, I call one of my best friends, Dan Burks, who lives up in Huntsville. His sister-in-law is Brittany Howard, who I know Brittany. From our time when we all lived out in Denver together, when we go out early 20s, that kind of thing. And so I knew her, but I always thought she was an ENT. Like I knew she was a doctor, but I thought she was like just your standard ENT, which technically she is, but turns out highly specialized. And so I called Dan. I said, hey man, I've been diagnosed with osteosarcoma. It's located in my jaw. We're working through all this stuff. And then, so he just kind of cut me off. He was like, hey man, like, I obviously don't know anything about this, but I think this is what Brittany does. He was like, do you mind if I put you on speaker? And I was like, are you with Brittany? And she just happened to be sitting in the seat next to him.
Yeah.
And
wild.
So he puts me on speaker. She's like, hey, send me your pathology report. So I forwarded it over to her. And she's like, okay, you've been diagnosed with mandibular osteosarcoma. This is super, super rare. I work at Mayo Clinic, Arizona. I've been out there for 10 years or however long. She's like, we're a center of excellence for sarcomas. And I do the surgery that you're going to have all the time. So she was like, if you want me to, I can take you through your prognosis, the surgery, the chemo, all this. And so she talked me through the whole thing. This was all within like 12 hours of being diagnosed with something that is 0.06% of cancer.
I just want to call out just God's intentionality and faithfulness. Just that, I don't believe that God causes cancer, but the fact that he was 5 steps ahead of you the entire time, or 100 steps ahead of you, that just to line all that up.
And we're just getting started.
I know, man. I love it. Let's go. So what happened next?
Yeah. So just to back up, like, so Brittany, she explained to me the prognosis side of it. So osteosarcoma, like we said, is most commonly found in the long bones. So in pediatric patients. So, femur, humerus,
Yeah.
tibia, that type of thing. The prognosis with that, it has about a 50% survival rate. And mandibular osteosarcoma, surprisingly enough, is actually better. So it's about a 75% survival rate. Which, hearing that, I was like, the way she phrased it, I was like, oh, that's great. It's a lot better. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, dude, that's like putting, 4 balls into a bag. One of them's red and they're like, you got to draw. And like, that's not the game I want to play.
I don't like the odds.
Like, dude, I don't want to do that.
I get that 75 is better than 60, but it's still, there's a 25% chance here, 1 in 4 that I'm dead.
So,
which I'm laughing, but it's a horror. Just saying it.
I mean, it's the reality of the situation. And, I think the way that I kind of approached the entire thing, I don't remember what podcast it was on that I heard this, but they were interviewing a POW from Vietnam, and he was in captivity for 4 or 5 years, and he said he was like I saw guys come and go, and I got to where I could tell who was going to make it and who was going to die. And he was like, there were the ones that were going to die were the ones who came in who were either overly optimistic and thought, hey, we're going to leave tomorrow. Like they're coming, we're out of here tomorrow or the next day, like for sure. Those guys didn't make it. The other guys who didn't make it were the doom and gloom. Like we're never getting out of here. This is a horrible situation. There's no overcoming this.
Yeah.
Those guys didn't make it. The guys that made it had hope for tomorrow and were very realistic about the situation that they were in and the card that they've been dealt. And so I remember hearing that early on in my diagnosis, and I was like, I think I've always kind of approached, like I'm a very hopeful person, but I feel like I'm pretty realistic as well. And especially when it came to this, I was like, okay, I know the prognosis. I got to start getting everything aligned physically where it's in my favor.
Yeah.
And so started doing that. I mean, cut out all sugar, quit drinking alcohol, worked out I want to say not every day. Well, almost every day, like throughout chemo, even if it meant like getting up and walking down the hallway.
You're going to move, you're going to do something.
And so, yeah, that was kind of, the Saturday following my diagnosis. And then, the Sunday following my diagnosis was when.
So we're 72 hours in.
72 hours in. And, Katie and I had recently joined Christ Church Presbyterian in Buckhead.
Is that Jason Dees' church?
Who?
Is that Jason Dees? Who pastors that church?
Well, so we're in the process of finding a new pastor right now.
But never mind. Wrong church. I had a different church in mind, but yeah, go ahead.
So anyways, phenomenal group of people. My cousin and her husband and their family go there. So they've been inviting us for a long time. Finally, I was like, hey, we're going to commit to this. And so we'd been going, every Sunday for about 3 months before I got my diagnosis, and show up that Sunday. And the sermon is on, finding joy in tough times. So, James 1.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
consider it pure joy.
Yeah. Consider it pure joy. And, trials of many kinds. Like we're going to leverage this in a way, that's going to produce something good.
Yeah.
And so that became my prayer from day one. And then even on top of that, that was the sermon that they were preaching, but really another big talking point was this right here, which is John Piper. He has a meditative series called Don't Waste Your Cancer.
Yeah.
And so this was what they were preaching on the Sunday after I was diagnosed. And
unbelievable.
And so it was like, that's the type of message when I hear that, and I think like, okay, I'm about to go through something super hard. It's going
Yeah.
to be the hardest thing I've probably ever done in my life by far. But everything leading up to this, all these hard things that I've done leading up to this were to prepare me for what I'm about to go through.
Yeah.
And so let's get super, super focused. Let's dial in and let's get it done. And so that was the mindset that I had kind of going into it. And
So I'm thinking, okay, you went through all the phases of grief, like within, like you got through that quick, man.
Yeah.
But just to think that you're diagnosed, now you've got a medical plan in place. And then within 72 hours, like God's even addressed your heart and your soul about this thing. Okay, I can wrap I've got hope that maybe it's possible. Because like sometimes when people hear consider it pure joys, like when you go through trials, when you're in the middle of a trial, some people get cynical when they hear that word. And they don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, like what in the world? But you received it as hope, as a game plan. Like I'm gonna leverage this for good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big takeaway is I'm fully aware that not everybody makes it through this.
Yeah.
And I'm super realistic about that. And so I would always say regardless of the outcome, because I'm still not out of it. I mean, I'm definitely not out of the woods. But I always say regardless of the outcome, my prayer is that God would use this for good. And that's part of the reason why I reached out to you, and definitely part of the reason why I'm here today is to be able to, speak to this and, hopefully encourage other. I mean, I can't tell you how many people reach out to me on LinkedIn. Like I did a big campaign all through chemo. And so many people reach out to me on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. Just telling me like, hey, I just got diagnosed, like watching you go through what you went through over the last 12 months and and staying as positive as you did through the entire thing gave me so much hope going into what I'm getting ready to go through. And so, so it's been a really awesome opportunity for me to be able to encourage people, hopefully be able to, speak to my faith and really what was the foundation of getting me through the last 12 months.
I think it's First Corinthians. I'm going to butcher this. This is going to be the Jeremy translation, but there's a verse where Paul says, "You're asking why it is that you've gone through the trials that you have." He said it's so that you can comfort those enduring the same trials with the comfort you have already received. So there's this flow, I think, that's supposed to happen in the kingdom of God, where we suffer and we receive this gift of divine comfort and provision and sustenance. But the kingdom, the way the kingdom works is you give it away, right?
Yeah.
You receive and you give it. Freely you've received, freely you should give. And it's in my story, early on in my 20s, I deeply wanted to be influential. I never really cared about being wealthy or like successful on paper. I wanted, like, success to me was influence. I wanted to influence people, but I thought that the way I would influence people would be by building this perfect life. Like, I'm going to build a perfect marriage and model it. I'm going to be a perfect dad. I'm going to be perfect in business, or whatever it is I build. I'm going to build this ideal life that people are going to look up to. And that was kind of what I strived for. And then my entire life fell apart, like in royal fashion. And what's crazy is that out of that brokenness and out of my brokenness and what God did in me through that, I found so much more influence on the other side of that I ever could have built out of my own, like, excellence or efforts, if that makes sense. So, anyway, I just think
it also leads you to, to the realization that failure is not a bad thing.
Right.
Like I would argue that I probably played it safe all the way through my 20s just because I was super concerned about, failing at anything.
Yeah.
And, and, I think the older you get and the more, kind of bumps and bruises and everything that you get along the way, you have the the wherewithal to look back and say, okay, without that, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
Without that, I wouldn't have
100. That hindsight's really powerful. And then you almost can't lay claim to the good in your life.
Yeah.
Whereas, early on, you're like, well, I did that. Well, I pulled that out. I strategized that and made that happen. And now I kind of feel like I look around like, I cannot believe this is my life. And I mean, I did everything I could to screw this up or things outside. I mean, there's things that like cancer in your world that came from outside of you. It's trying to destroy you, but you see like the faithfulness and goodness of God manifesting itself despite those things.
Oh, dude. I mean, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. We live in a very modest home, and but we have a great backyard and our kids love playing in the backyard. And so we have big windows that look into the backyard. And just 2 weeks ago, I was sitting there with Katie. We were just hanging out after work. We got both the kids in the back, chasing each other, playing, just having a great time. And I just was like overcome with, God, dude, what an awesome life. Like I am so unbelievably fortunate to be where I am today. And I don't think I would have appreciated where I am today had I not gone through the last 12 months, at least not in the way that I do now. Because I look at my wife now, and I see who I've gotten to. I always knew who she was, but I got to like really experience that, and really just experience who she is on a personal level. And I feel more connected to her. I will always feel connected to her, given what we went through over the last 12 months. I mean, she was there every single step of the way, encouraging, positive. I always tease her. I'm like, I only saw you cry one time. It was the day I was diagnosed. And she was like,
are you even sad about this?
She was like, you were doing enough crying for everyone. But that's just who she is, man. She's like just such a awesome person through and through. And
but these are the kind of things that reveal that whatever's deep down inside is what's going to really come out. So you got to see the core, integrity and character of who she really is.
Yeah, I think, like I obviously always have loved her, but it's like, man, I just continue to fall more and more in love with her every single day as we continue to walk through this, as we continue to, raise our kids and grow in our careers and everything. It's just really cool to have somebody that you get to share everything with, the good and the bad. And, and that they have your back regardless.
Yeah. Were you talking about looking out the window, just that moment, seeing your kids playing in the yard and just kind of being able to be in that moment? It made me think about this book I read maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago. It's called The Wisdom of Insecurity. It's by a guy named Alan Watts. And he's kind of this wild, he was a Episcopalian priest, turned Buddhist monk, turned back some kind of hybrid spiritualist. I don't know what his faith is, but a lot of wisdom in his writings. And but he talks about the power of presence, like just being present in your life and in every moment. And he basically wrote philosophically about when we chase something, like, and you're a driven guy. I mean, I can tell that from 7 seconds of meeting you. I'm a very forward-thinking, very future-focused person, or was historically. But he talks about when we're always chasing. If what we're chasing or if what we're pursuing is ahead of us, so happiness, success, wealth, whatever it is, everybody's kind of got their thing they're looking for. The fact that we're chasing it reveals that we don't believe we already have it.
Yeah.
And therefore, as long as we're chasing it, we'll never actually have it, because the mindset already bears witness that we don't think we have it, if that makes sense. So he said, so then whatever that thing is that we're chasing, that future is like a phantom, because as soon as you arrive at what you thought you wanted or needed or desired, it's always leveled up, right? So like financially, you can say, like, man, I want to be worth $10 million by the time I'm this age. And then you get there, then you meet the guy that's worth 100 million. Well, now I got to be 100.
Yeah.
So it's always, but even with things like joy and peace and happiness, you know, we think I'm just going to be happy once I can get to this point in life. We never actually arrive. And so we spend our whole life chasing that dream versus acknowledging in that moment, looking out the window, it's here.
Yeah.
You know, like here in this moment, there's joy, there's happiness, there's success, there's peace that someone else would kill for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, you know, the Sunday after I was diagnosed, my cousin's husband, John Alexander, you know, pulled me aside and he was like, man, you're going to look back on this and you're about to experience something that a lot of people have to wait until they're on their deathbed to experience. Yeah. And he was like, you're going to look back on this and be super thankful. And to your point, I mean, like, and I still have to work on being present. Like my wife gets on me all the time. Put your phone down, and so it's something I still work on, but at the same time, like there are a lot of times where I'm acutely aware of how incredibly fortunate I am to be in the situation that I'm in. And I don't think I would have that level of awareness had I not gone through the last 12 months.
Yeah. Okay. So quickly kind of walk through like the surgery, the treatment, like what did the surgery look like, chemotherapy after it, and kind of where you are right now.
Yeah. So chemo, we went to Emory and then we flew out
chemo
to Mayo.
first before surgery. Okay.
Yeah. So we went to Emory, met with their team, got what, you know, their protocol that they were recommending, flew out to Mayo, got their protocol. Again, they're a center of excellence for sarcoma. And they were different.
Yeah.
And so I was like, crap, and I had 48 hours to choose because I was scheduled to essentially 48 hours to choose because I was starting chemo that following Monday. And so I talked to everybody I could talk to, read the limited number of clinical studies that are available comparing these drugs. So to give technical terms, because I know a lot of people that will listen to this probably understand the drugs that I'm talking about. But so Mayo was recommending doxorubicin with cisplatin. They were recommending I do 3 rounds up front, have the surgery in the middle, and do 3 rounds on the back end after the surgery. So that was option 1. Option 2 was Emory, which was we're going to do 6 full rounds all the way through and have the surgery on the back end, and we're going to do doxorubicin and ifosfamide. And so I was like, well, we need to figure out what clinical data is out there that compares doxorubicin and ifosfamide to doxorubicin and cisplatin within, you know, in mandibular osteosarcoma patients, which there's
not much. Yeah.
Turns out there's 2 studies out there. The data set is tiny and the results are inconclusive. And so I was like, oh, this is great. So how
do you make that decision?
So I talked to, well, first I got the 2 oncologists on the phone, Emory and Mayo.
With each other. I like it.
And had them basically like, you know, talk through it and determine what they thought was best. Both of them kind of stuck to their guns, but then I talked to Dr. Yielding here in Birmingham, who's an oncologist, Dr. Garcia, who's also an oncologist, and then another oncologist at Piedmont in Atlanta. So did all that on Friday after we got back from Mayo. And all 3 of them said, look, really, you're kind of splitting hairs between when it comes to ifosfamide versus cisplatin. Really, like the heavy hitter in that protocol is doxorubicin. And so as long as that's included, you're sort of splitting hairs. And they said, if, you know, Emory is recommending doxorubicin and ifosfamide, and they're like directly in our backyard. They were like, just go with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's what I ultimately went with. And it was rough. It was Monday through Friday, every third week, Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. And I could hang Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday I kind of started feeling bad. Thursday and Friday, I didn't even know where I was. I mean, it was pretty brutal, and worked through the whole thing. That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, had to work through the whole thing, and made it through. My last round was, I think, I was in the hospital for New Year's. I was in the hospital for New Year's, and then I had the surgery following that on January the 21st at UAB. And so when they went in for the surgery and they sent everything out to pathology, the pathology came back after the surgery about 10 days later, and it showed that the chemo had completely killed all of the cancer cells. So there weren't even enough viable cancer cells to even measure, which is great. And so so that was huge, which
so
meant
ignorant question, but you're still glad you had the surgery.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was the only option.
Yeah, okay, got
And,
it.
yeah, like the only option for osteosarcoma is the surgical removal.
Right.
You can't just do chemo.
Is it because the genetic predisposition will cause the cancer cells to?
To be honest, I'm not sure clinically why that is. It's just, they basically just said if you have osteosarcoma, it's not an option. You have to have surgery.
Got it.
So, which made it super easy for me.
100%. Yeah, no decision to make.
And so I was just like, cool. Tell me what you got to do. I've had major surgery before. I was not on this level, but so anyways, went through. Basically what they do is it's about a 10-hour surgery. They remove the whole lower right half of your jaw. So they resected from my midline all the way back to where your mandible drops and kind of turns at a 90 degree. They cut right there. So all of this was removed. Then they harvest your fibula, which is like the small bone in your leg, in your lower leg. And so they take that out and they use it to rebuild your entire jaw. So I have no fibula anymore. I have a really gnarly looking scar. I don't know if you want to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the rest of my life won't have a fibula. And just kind of is what it is. We make do with it. But yeah, so now where I am today, I have to give a plug because there's an amazing group here in Birmingham that's doing all my dental restoration.
Yeah.
So fun fact, United Healthcare doesn't cover any of this stuff. They consider it medically unnecessary. They actually
the reconstruction of your teeth and the dental part.
So they covered the removal of everything, but they denied the reconstruction of it all.
Unbelievable.
So the whole reconstruction was denied, which is insane. And so we're obviously in the process of appealing all that, but
and I can't imagine the cost.
Yeah, it's a lot. And so but Vulcan City Dental here in Birmingham, Caitlin Grimes and her husband Michael, they just opened. It's over off of Porto Madrid Boulevard, if you know where the old like holiday movie, or yeah, I think that's what it's called, like movie store used to be when we were kids. But they're now in that spot, and they're doing all my dental reconstruction essentially at cost. So which is unbelievably kind of them. And the technology that they have nowadays is insane.
Yeah.
And so they were like, yeah, once you get everything finished, which is I think on September the 3rd, I'll be back to get everything knocked out and implanted. They were like, you'll look the exact same, like with the exception of a little bit of swelling right now.
Yeah.
But they were like, a year from now, you're going to look the exact same. You'll have the same function and everything.
I mean, your jawline is very symmetrical. The fact that they were able
Kinda.
I mean, that's from my perspective, like honestly, like I really think so.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's been a long road. I mean, but again, it's not something I would probably go back and change, assuming I can make it through the next 5 years. So,
yeah. Well, I do want to talk about something. So earlier we were talking through just off camera about just things that helped you along the way in your process. And so we were talking about just kind of the emotional trauma of it. And you said that you had an experience with ayahuasca.
Yeah.
I would love, like, everyone's talking about this. Like, I mean, I'm like, Lacey, we're going to go to California. We're going to go do ayahuasca together. We're going to work through our childhood trauma. It's going to be amazing. So I'm super open to this. Yeah. And I've had some friends that have done some supervised stuff with that. So I'd love to hear what your experience was. Yeah. How did you discover it? And then kind of tell me what the process was like.
Yeah. So, a very good friend of mine, somebody that I respected a lot. He probably does it about once a quarter. Yeah. And this guy is a super successful entrepreneur here in Birmingham. He was a year older than me at Mountain Brook. And, he and we got to know each other really well. I haven't done it as much since we've had kids, but we used to do a ton of free diving and spearfishing. Yeah. And so he and I
That's awesome, by the way. Episode 2.
We'll talk about that. I'll send you some pictures. Yeah. And so he and I, got really serious into that together. And if you know anything about that, like, you have to be with people that you trust with your life. And so this is a guy that I really respect, that I really trust. And he was telling me, he was like, this is, he's never been one to push anything on anybody, like, which is what I love about him. He's like, he is who he is. And if you find it interesting, he's happy to talk about it. And so I've always been kind of picking his brain about it, because I knew he was into it. And as I was going through this, I reached out and I was like, hey man, like, I essentially have PTSD after going through, and my oncologist told me that. He was like, well, yeah. When I remember when he told me, I was like, dude, what are you talking about? And he was like, when you get through this, he said, you're such an action-oriented person. You're going to breeze through chemo. You're going to breeze through the surgery. You're going to have a hard time with the waiting. You're going to have a hard time doing the quarterly scans. Yeah. Which is 100% true, because I'm so action oriented. If I know I have a defined plan to execute on, I'll get it done. Like, that's great. But when it's like, okay, we're going to wait and see, and we're going to address anything if it pops up, I'm like, oh dude, this waiting is just not my thing. And so anyways, I reach out to him and I was like, hey man, I think do you think this would help me process some of this? And he was like 100%. He said, if you're interested in it, we have a group that that's getting together in about a month and a half. And so he was like, I'll introduce you to the organization that puts it on, and it's led by actual MDs. So it's not like super woo woo. I mean, definitely some of that, but like, but it's led by actual physicians. Right. And
it's not a witch doctor from some Central American tribe, and, which might be awesome too.
Yeah, which could be fun.
Maybe more legitimate. I get it. You got it.
And then we also had, in our group that was doing it with us, there was an ER doctor that was there doing it too. And so I would say it's definitely a form of medicine. Like, having experienced it, like, I understand now why people, categorize it that way or explain it that way. But really at the end of the day, it was a super healing experience where I was able to process a lot of emotion and fear. Yeah. In a relatively short period of time. I mean, it lasts like 4 to 5 hours. And the other thing too is like, you're always aware of where you are. You're always aware of who's next to you and around
So you remember every detail of it.
Like you can get up and go use the restroom.
Right.
Like it's not like you don't have like dragons shooting out of the walls.
Right.
And,
rainbow stick men dancing across your lap.
It's not like that. It's there are definitely like visual aspects to it, but my experience was incredibly love. Like I felt a lot of love. I received a lot of peace. So kind of clinically speaking, your body produces DMT naturally.
Right.
So it produces it when you're born, when you're dreaming, and when you die. And so if you've ever seen anybody like get closer and closer to death, they'll start speaking to other people that they've known throughout their life that are no longer here. And it's not scary. Like that's what you experience like this much bigger experience in a very like intense and loving way.
Yeah.
And so it removes a lot of the fear of dying, because I always hesitate to say like you experience what death is, because that makes people be like, oh dude, I don't want to do that.
Right.
But that's why it removes the fear of dying, is because the way you experience it, it's like you leave that like so grateful, so just full of love and appreciation for everybody in your life. Like I thought through all of the relationships that I have that are important to me, and what everybody means to me, and you just like really process that and experience it at a very deep level, which I think, I mean, look, I've only done it once, but the experience I had, like there was absolutely no downside to it at all.
Yeah. So you processed the PTSD from the trauma from the diagnosis. Did you process stuff from childhood as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
and you don't have to get into that. We all have to. I have the most amazing parents on earth, and I have my own childhood trauma because that's just how life is.
I mean, I think everybody does. I mean, I'm an open book. So, for me, it was really like walking through, a big piece of it was healing. Like, so they explained to us ahead of time. They're like, you can receive gifts through this experience. And I'm in my head, I'm like, what are they talking about? Like receive a gift? Like, what does that mean? And, I'm just thinking like, whatever, let's see what this is all about.
Yeah.
But then when you get into it, it's almost like you're being led by some type of entity who walks you down a journey. And so for me, it was, we're going to start with focus. And so this is something like I've always been like, I go a million different directions, and sometimes it's my superpower and like I get a lot done. Yeah. And other times it's like, dude, you gotta focus.
Your Achilles heel.
And so that was where we started during my journey was you're going to be given the gift of focus. And anytime you feel like you're getting overwhelmed as we walk through this, always come back to focus. And so focus was blue. This sounds crazy.
No.
Focus was blue. I could like see it in my hand. And,
and
so I was like, okay. And then next came love. And so love was yellow. And they're like, and I started like having thoughts about my mom, my dad, my sister, Katie, the kids, and started thinking through, all the experiences that I had with them. And it helped me really kind of step back and see things from their perspective and feel like a deep feeling of love and appreciation. And Yeah, just for their perspective,
Yeah.
as opposed to being so like inwardly
Right.
focused. So that was the love aspect of it. And then the healing side of it was purple. And they were like, okay, look at your hand and receive the gift of healing. And it was purple, and they're like, now rub it on your face. And so I did. I could feel it, dude. It was like throughout my whole body. And they're in osteosarcoma, the first place it spreads is to your lungs. And they're like, inhale your healing. So like take a huge deep breath, and they were like, exhale it. And I could just feel like all the negative energy like leaving my body. And so it's like it's you can't even do it justice describing it
Sure.
to people who haven't experienced it.
Well, it's just like trying to describe a dream.
100%.
I had this dream last night, and I had purple hair, and I was flying, and then
yeah.
I met this rabbit. I mean, yeah,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's the most vivid dream where you're like fully aware of the fact that you're
So it's like a lucid dream. Yeah.
And but like very, very vibrant. There's also they play what are called Icarios, which are like a specific, I may have butchered the name of that, but these specific songs throughout the entire experience. And you get to where it's almost like they're leading the experience. And they're taking you on the journey through all the songs that they play.
Yeah.
And you get to where you can see like sounds good. You can see like the notes, and you can feel like
I get it.
the drum beat, and it's like boom, and you see it like orange like waving across the room.
That is wild.
And, yeah, dude, it's a really unique thing that I think I don't see how any bad could come from it, especially for somebody who is going through cancer or has been through cancer. I would highly recommend it to anybody that's experiencing something like that, or anything that's super traumatic.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I think it is slowly becoming destigmatized around the country, and I think a lot, at least the stuff that I've read, it's interesting how the kind of the traditional medical community has been very much against it. And there's a lot of conspiracy theory around that, just because it is so powerful and actually does heal versus treat.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Because I like candidly, I mean, again, full transparency, like, I mean, I was having panic attacks throughout all through chemo, everything. Like there were nights where I'd wake up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and the only way I could calm down and like catch my breath and gather myself was, if I took a Valium or some type of benzo or something, whatever it may be. I mean, I had a pharmacy of stuff.
I'm sure. Yeah.
In my bathroom at home. And, and that's not to say that ayahuasca or anything like this is gonna like fully remove those panic attacks, but it certainly helps.
Yeah.
Like it definitely helped me look at my situation in a different light.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I'll add is like the overarching experience that I had was definitely like, I felt very God-centered around my faith. And, that's always been a big part of my life. And so I was able to really connect with that and experience that in a totally different way than I ever have in the past. And so, and I made it a point to have that be like front of mind going into
that was part of
this.
your intent going into it.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
So I'd say that's the overview. Hopefully people don't think I'm crazy.
No, man, I love it. I appreciate you opening up about that. All right. So if you could go back, I asked you this last week, but if you could go back and give 25-year-old Beau advice, what would you tell him? And you said he wouldn't listen to you probably, but but let's say he would listen to you, even if he doesn't. What would you tell him?
I don't even remember what I wrote down for this, but top of mind. I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind was, I don't think he would probably listen to me, but I also think he was too focused on seeking other people's opinions about I was never like, I don't think I was overly focused about what people thought about me. I just always second guessed my approach to anything, and I would try and validate it with other people's opinions.
Yeah, that's well said.
And so, and I think that comes from, my childhood and, like my dad was around for sure, but I always looked to a lot of other people for, external validation and make sure, like, am I doing this right? Should I do this? Should I do that? And instead I would say, man, just do what, like, take the big swings early.
Yeah.
And don't ask anybody if they think you should do it or not. If you think you should do it, you go do it. And, so that would probably be like the top thing that I would say amongst many others. But
yeah. So I have this practice that I started doing this years ago. And then later I read it in a book. I was like, I thought I made that up, but apparently I didn't make it up as a thing. but when I'm in a place where I'm anxious about something, or like I'm at a crossroads and I don't know which path to take, or uncertain about things, I will meditate, and I will, at least in my mind's eye, I will pretend to go get counsel from 90-year-old me.
Yeah. So like that, that's my goal in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
Like I want to love as hard as I possibly can. I want to work as hard as I possibly can to be able to provide for my family. I want to be able to be the best possible example I can be for my kids. And so like, I think that's just like inherently, like I probably went too hard in my early days. Like I just beat my body to where it is today. But yeah, I think like just leave it all out on the field, man. Like that's kind of my ultimate goal, and try and love people as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And do as much good as I possibly can.
So 95-year-old Beau is looking at you right now and says, hey, you got how many more years would that be? 56 years left.
Yeah.
Here's and he's giving you advice for the next 56 years. Like, what do you think he would tell you? Which is kind of the same way of asking the question I just asked you, but just, I want to flip it. Like, he's like, if he could just grab your face.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to get, like you want to get through to 25-year-old you. What does 95-year-old you want to get through to you about how to prioritize your life?
Yeah, I would say listen to my wife, because what she says when she's like, put your phone down, I know I need to do that. Like, be present. Yeah. She's always like, be present, because the time that we have with our kids, 3 and 6, they're gone like that. And
I can validate that one.
Yeah. And so I think like that has to be top of. I love that question, because it's like really makes it hit home. Yeah. Something I try and do every single day, but it's really hard. Like, when you're at the house and the kids are fighting, and, our son's having a freaking meltdown, and, it's like, dude, all I want to do is like, just sit on my phone and not pay attention to anything.
Check out.
Yeah. Working all day. Like, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
But 95-year-old me, if he, could transport back into time today, he'd be like, dude, you would trade everything to be back in that moment right now. And so
that business call could wait.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like 95-year-old me is like, hey, that extra $1 million or whatever you think you were going to earn or make, is like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's those relationships that are the substance of life.
Yeah, it's probably also going to be like, dude, you stress too much about stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
like you're gonna be fine, and like stop stressing and start appreciating where you are.
Yeah.
And it just goes back to like 2 weeks ago, sitting in the living room and being overcome with that just gratitude for where I am and who's in my life, and the amazing wife I have next to me with 2 kids that adore me. And like, man, that's a great life. It doesn't matter if you feel like your house is too small and the walls are closing in, and you got, your other friends back here in Mountain Brook that live in these giant houses. It's like, dude,
I'm the same way, bro. I always tell people I'm the poorest person in Mountain Brook. I have 5 kids crammed in a Cracker Jack box house, but it's sweet, but it's hard. It's chaotic. Yeah. Sorry.
So, I would love to have some extra room, but not at the expense of being able to, appreciate the moments that we currently have.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I got 3 more questions for you.
Yeah.
We're gonna close with this. One, for the folks that are watching or listening to this right now that either just had a recent diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis, or some other health issue that's really scary, or they're about to, they don't even know it yet. If you could give them advice, what would you give them? What would you say to them?
I mean, I would say, so I was talking to a friend of mine from high school, just on Instagram the other day, but she was just recently diagnosed with breast cancer. And, so I reached out to her and I said, hey, look, we obviously haven't talked in a long time, but I just want you to know, like, this is doable, because that's the mountains seem so freaking big. And it's huge. It's scary. You have no idea what the outcome's going to be. I can't speak to how anybody else tackles a problem. But what I can speak to is, like, you can do this. Like, you can make it through it. Like, let's get a game plan. This is how I operate, which is like, let's get the game plan and let's execute on it. Let's have, like, we're going to eat this elephant one bite at a time.
Yep.
And then you're going to look back 6-8 months from now, however long your treatment plan is, and you're going to be hopefully better off than when you started.
Yeah.
And that was my prayer. And so it is possible. And, and I also always say, like, the other thing that really, really helped me, that I was super intentional about, was reaching out to people who have gone through it.
Yeah.
So I always say, like, if anybody's listening to this and they need somebody to talk to, and I know, like, people say that all the time, but I'm dead serious. Like, if anybody wants to talk through a recent diagnosis or anything, I'm always happy to chat. I'm not hard to find. And that was something that was super helpful to me, was I found guys that I really trusted. Now, I wasn't able to find anybody that was diagnosed with what I was diagnosed with. But I found one guy in particular who was diagnosed with testicular cancer. He himself was a psychiatrist, and he walked through the entire journey with me and, like, helped kind of coach me through the whole thing. He looked up, like, probably should. Well, I guess if I don't say who he is, but he looked up, like, patient data, redacted it, and was like, hey, here are 5 people who were diagnosed with what you were diagnosed with in the state of California, and all of them are still alive. Yeah. So, like, I know that you're freaking out because you have cancer, but, like, these guys right here have made it, and you can too. And so that was pretty cool to be able to have people like that kind of walk with you through it.
Wow. Okay, second question. So for family and friends, because sometimes someone close to you goes through something like that, people want to help, but they just don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to show up. But so the desire's there, but they just don't. Yeah. So what would you tell them?
Man, some of the best, well, I'll tell you, our community showed up like I've never could have imagined.
Yeah.
I mean, I had, people driving in from Birmingham, flying in from Colorado, like unprompted. And, my aunts, they all booked an Airbnb for like 3 weeks in Atlanta, just
Unbelievable.
unasked, and gave it to my mom. We're like, you go and stay for as long as you need. And so, stuff like that. I mean, I would say if you think it's going to be helpful, just do it.
Yeah.
Like one of the best things was a close family friend of ours was like, all right, they got 2 young kids, obviously going through cancer. So like we need to make sure that their house is clean. And so they're like, we're going to take that on. And they hired a cleaning service and cleaned our house. And, that's just like such a relief for Katie in particular.
No kidding.
When I'm like laying in the bed, just, laid out, and
she's single momming it, basically.
Single momming it. Yeah. With 2 kids that are going nuts, 3 and 6, just tearing the house up and have no idea what. Yeah. So yeah, just stuff like that. They also did a meal train, which was amazing. We had, the best thing I think was people were just donating DoorDash. Like,
that's amazing.
Money to us. And so it was awesome to be in the chemo ward and just be like, dude, I feel awful. The only thing I want to eat is whatever. And I was like, I'm just going to DoorDash it. And you look up and you have like $1,000 in DoorDash, and it was great. So yeah, so stuff like that was really cool.
You said something to me. You just said, just show up. Mm-hmm. Like just whatever it is, just do something. Yeah. Like if you want to show up, show up.
Yeah. And that means, I don't know. People say that all the time. I don't know if like physically showing up.
That's a good. Yeah. You
like
just got home from chemo. You don't want somebody.
Let me in. I need help.
Metaphorically show up.
Like find something that you think is going to be helpful and execute on it. Yeah. That Katie or whoever is going to have to do eventually. Yeah. Like just go do it for them. That was super, super helpful. Yeah,
that's amazing. Okay, the last thing I want to ask you is I'm speaking to a guy who has had to face his mortality a lot earlier than most of us expect. So if in this moment you could say something in this clip to your kids, 1, and to your wife, 2nd, that if this is all they could watch on repeat for the rest of their life, right?
Yeah.
Which I know is a big ask, but what would you say to your kids? Like if they could replay a statement to them from their dad to remember, like, hey, these are my parting thoughts to you, about you.
So something I always say to my kids, I started doing this, after I was diagnosed, was, every single morning and every single night, I always tell them, I'll always love you and I'll always be with you. And so that's one thing. And then the question that I ask them every day after I pick them up from school is, what did you do today that made somebody feel good about themselves?
That's so good.
I think that's like a super important thing, that if you can go and every single day do one thing that makes somebody feel good about who they are, that's a good day.
Yeah.
And you're putting out a lot of good into the world. And so I ask them that every single day. They haven't really figured out, or Dana has. Wes still working on the concept.
It'll be a minute.
Yeah. But those 2 things are top of mind. And then, obviously, like, just the fact that like they're the best thing that ever happened to me. And being able to, everything before they came along was just fluff. Then they come in and it's like, all right, life is real now.
Yeah.
And this is what life is about. And they gave me the opportunity to experience life on a totally different level
Yeah.
than I otherwise would have been able to. And I don't think they will ever be able to understand that until they have their own kids.
Sure.
And that's what your parents always told you growing up, and you roll your eyes and everything. But being able to, I mean, I think again, I just keep going back to, you know, sitting in our living room. Like, there's not many things in life that you can just look at and be like, man, like overcome with like just joy and just how awesome your life is just by looking at these two people.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just, you know, trying to convey like how much they really do mean to Katie and I. Um, and then lastly, I would say, you know, lean into your faith. I mean, I know that that's like a very cliche, and it's frustrating, but I think it can be a frustrating process, is what I meant by that. But also pointing out that growing up, you always hear like people are saved and it's like a bam overnight transformation. Like, that's not how it was for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's okay if it's not
Yeah.
how it was or how it is for you. And don't get frustrated with it. Think about it like a long-term game. God is working on you. It's not going to be an overnight success.
That's good.
And wake up every morning, read your Bible, go to bed every night reading your Bible, pray with your wife, and just be open to what God will do in your life. And you'll look back, you know, when you're a 38-year-old and you have 2 kids, and you'll just be like, man, like, he's been working through all this the entire time, even through, you know, the early childhood, like developing me in a very specific way to where we are today and being able to bring me through the last 12 months. And you just kind of look back on it, you're like, man, all this is intertwined and you've had your hand on it the entire time.
Yeah.
So
What about Katie?
Katie, I would say thank you for being so patient with me. And just, you know, I think every single day I'm just shocked by how much more I fall in love with her. And we've been through a lot together in the 7 years that we have been married, which makes me so much more excited for what we have in the future. Because if we can make it through the time that we've made it through together, and you know, and really love each other through that, it's only going to get better from here, I think. So yeah.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Well, bro, thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having
coming
me.
out to Birmingham.
I appreciate it.
Making
Appreciate
the drive.
letting me sound like a crazy man talking about ayahuasca.
I love it. That was like the X factor that you threw in last minute. I was like, oh, we're gonna definitely cover that.
I was like, I don't know how this is gonna be.
I love it. I love it. I'm all ears on that. So I love that part. And man, we're so aligned in that, from your experiences and from my experiences. Like you say, you just want this message to reach whomever it can reach with hope and encouragement. It's the whole reason this podcast exists. My life is busy enough to not try to do a podcast on the side. I'll be honest. But my heart and intent behind this is to tell stories like yours, and that it just goes and finds exactly who it's intended to find, to give them encouragement and hope. And just like you're telling your kids, just to leave some goodness out in the world. That's the intent behind this. And I know that this message is going to find who it was intended to find. And so I appreciate you telling it.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the platform and the opportunity to tell it. So thanks.
Yeah, man. You got it. And then one little shameless plug here at the end. Hey, if this content, if this story has encouraged you, if it's giving you some hope, then I'm going to ask you for 3 things. First of all, if you could subscribe on whatever channel it is that you are watching or listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If it's on Apple or Spotify that you're listening, subscribe as well. drop me a comment. Number two, that would be super helpful. First of all, it helps me kind of move up in the ratings, and so that Apple and Spotify and YouTube will get this out in front of more people. And then three, please share it with someone out there who you know needs the same encouragement. In the meantime, love you guys. God bless.